Welcome back to the program. So let's talk about the latest on the Save America Act. Obviously, this is something hugely important, and it must get done much sooner rather than later. I've said before, I really feel like the clock will be running out on us around May 15th, June, the latest, to get this thing done, because then they're going to be like, well, it's too close to the election and we can't do this right now and all this other garbage, right? So we've got to continue to put the pressure, the absolute maximum pressure. This has to be an every single day thing. When you wake up in the morning, whether you watch my show first or whatever, it doesn't matter. You need to be contacting these senators, okay? You got to be doing it. We've got to continue to put the pressure on, because they're like children. Once you stop, watching what they're doing, then they're going to continue to do something you don't want them to do. But if you're watching them, they'll be on their best behavior. Well, that's kind of, unfortunately, what we're dealing with. We're dealing with children in the Senate, okay? Now, today, we see this headline. Wonderful headline. Sounds amazing. Senate Leader John Thune floats reconciliation plan to, quote, ram through the Save America Act, only needing 50 votes, and of course the Vice President, J.D. Vance, to bypass the Democratic filibuster. Senate Republican leader John Thune is signaling that Republicans are ready to use every legislative tool available, including budget reconciliation, to force the Save America Act across the finish line, even if it means bypassing Democrat obstruction. Here's what Thune said today. I think that budget reconciliation, as I've said before, you have to have a reason to do it. And if we have reasons to do it, and we may, very well may, I think there are a number of our colleagues in the Senate. We just came out of a luncheon where they were discussed, and I think there's a lot of support for a budget reconciliation bill to pass the Save America Act. Now, we have two legislative vehicles, as you know, available to us. So we could tee one of those up, and that's an option. And, well, we'll just have to see if that's what it's going to take to get some of these things across the finish line. And we can do it with simple majorities. We'll take a hard look at it. Okay? So that's what John Thune said. Earlier, newly sworn-in Department of Homeland Security Secretary Markwayne Mullins also dropped the hammer. Republicans are looking and loading the Save America Act for a full steam-ahead push through budget reconciliation. By using the reconciliation process, Republicans can bypass the typical 60-vote filibuster threshold, meaning that they only need a simple majority, 50 votes, plus Vice President J.D. Vance, to lock down our elections once and for all, he said. Also pointing to the fact that that's how the One Big Beautiful Bill was passed, right? Reconciliation, 50 plus 1. Now, why are we not screaming with joy about this? Well, we're not screaming with joy about this because according to Mike Lee, who I would trust 100% what he says, and the great Anna Paulina Luna in the House, this sounds like a smokescreen, folks. That's what this sounds like, okay? These Republicans are not serious, and they're going to need to hear from us much, much longer in order for us to do what we need to do. Now, what's going to happen if they do this? Well, it's pretty simple. They're going to fail. Why are they going to fail? Well, we're going to let Mike Lee explain that one right now. Hopefully it's an X link and there's not a commercial. It's whoops, I got to plug in my speaker. I forgot I even had that. So you're gonna hear from Mike Lee here, and Mike's a pretty smart guy. Like I said, I would love to see this guy eventually even on the Supreme Court. He's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And he breaks it down for us, which we're going to get to right about now. Listen closely to what Mike says.
There are a lot of things that can be passed through a Senate procedure known as budget reconciliation, through which we can pass things with a simple majority vote. The Save America Act isn't one of those things. It can't pass through budget reconciliation because it's a policy. It is not budgetary, and even if you attached money to it, there are things at the margins we could do to help facilitate compliance with it. But the restrictions themselves have basically zero chance of meeting the standard to pass through budget reconciliation. So look, regardless, there are other reasons out there to do budget reconciliation. Do not be fooled into thinking that we can set down the Save America Act, and just pick it up on budget reconciliation. That's not going to work. Thanks.
So he just let the cat out of the bag, okay? The SAVE Act is policy. It's not budget. And like he said, even if they figure out and they get the smartest lawyers in the room to come up with something that is monetary in principle, you still have that scumbag woman, Senate parliamentarian, who's going to shoot it down. So what is happening right now? This is a head fake. This is John Thune pretending to try on the merits to get the Save America Act done. But then when the parliamentarian strips it all out, he's going to go, well, sorry guys. Hey, I apologize. It's not my fault. It's her fault. And then all of MAGA, all of America First are going to be like wanting the throat of the Senate parliamentarian, which rightfully you would be right to do. But really you should have the throat of John Thune, because he's the scumbag liar here that is trying to fool all of you. He wants to do what Democrats do, which is pretend to be serious on policy, which of course they're not. Then he wants to stall, which is exactly what the Iranian regime has done to every administration for the past, 20, 30 years, saying, oh, we're serious about negotiating on our nuclear program. No, you weren't. You were using it as a stall tactic. Well, guess what? Rhino Thune is using the same type of terrorist tactics, yes, I will call them that the Iranian regime would be using to, quote, negotiate their nuclear program. So what I'm telling you is, once again, I'm going to put the thumbnail together. You need to contactyourrep.com, contactyourrep.com, or reps, I don't know, one of those two. And I also, would contact Mark Wayne Mullins' office as well. And the reason is because they just put in a brand new temporary senator, Alan Armstrong or something his name is. He comes from the gas and oil community. He ran a big company. And from what I can gather, he's focused solely on energy policy and getting permits and things like that. But this is also somebody that now we know, because I pointed it out, gave $5,800 to Adam Kinzinger, one of the biggest rhino scumbags there is. So I would make sure and get that guy on record, this new guy, on record, to make sure that he is a vote for the Save America Act. This is what they are doing. They are playing three-card Monty, moving shit around the board, hoping that you get dizzy and you don't see it. Okay? That's what's happening. So I'm telling you right now, do not relent. Continue to call, continue to email, continue to put the pressure on the House, on the Senate Republicans to get this thing passed. Budget reconciliation is not going to work, according to Mike Lee. Okay? It may have worked with the One Big Beautiful Bill, because the One Big Beautiful Bill, although it was policy, it was budgetary. It had tax cuts. It had spending cuts. It had money allocation for all different things. That's how they were able to group it all together and get it to pass. From what I can gather right now, this is pretty straightforward. Voter ID, policy. Proof of citizenship, policy. No mail-in ballots, policy. Where's the money? Where's the money? Budget reconciliation is for monetary policy, for money. So I don't know where you're going to go, unless maybe, I don't know, maybe you put in there that, you're not charging for documents. I have no idea. Maybe there's charges for certain documents for proof of residency or whatever. Maybe there's filing fees. I have no idea. Maybe then if you pull them away, you can say, well, look, it's not just policy, it's budgetary policy too. I don't want to take that chance, okay? I don't want to take that chance. Time is of the essence. Tick tock, tick tock. We've got to get this done. We just lost a Florida House district seat tonight or yesterday or whatever it was in a special election. If you don't think the left is coming after us, you're crazy. And you know what? God forbid we don't get this done and they take over Congress. We're going to be sitting here going, I fucking told you so. I told you to make those phone calls. I told you to make those emails. And you know what? These Republican scumbags will be the ones to blame. And then what? When they're in the minority, and then all of a sudden, you've got these radical extreme Democrats coming after us and the president any way they can. And we could have said, you stupid bastards, you had the ability with enough Republican senators to pass this fucking thing, and you didn't do it. Put the pressure on. We're going to get this done, but we're not going to allow bullshit shenanigans like this to get in the way. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one. Make those calls, please.